broadcast. Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Nursing Students, Content, and Libraries, a report from Rittenhouse's Faculty Focus Group and Survey at the 2018 National Student Nurses Association Annual Convention. Thanks again for joining us today. We appreciate you all taking time out of your day to attend our webinar series. Your hosts today are myself. I'm Jason Hafer, Manager of eContent Support, or eContent and ePlatform Support at Rittenhouse. And I have with me Meg White, the Executive Director of Technology Services at Rittenhouse.
Good afternoon and welcome.
So once again, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us and to hear about our experience at the NSNA conference earlier this year. A few housekeeping things to take care of before we start the session. We will be recording this and it will be made available on our Rittenhouse YouTube channel. Just so you know, also it will come as a recording. You'll get a link to the recording via a follow-up email that'll come tomorrow. Audio is muted for participants, but we do have time at the end reserved for question and answers, and you can submit questions along the way using the GoToWebinar question tool on your dashboard. A recap of what we'll do today, we're going to talk about what we did at the National Student Nurses Association meeting, which was essentially, aside from displaying in a booth, conducting a survey, and we did a faculty focus group. We'll also discuss how the R2 Digital Library can enable you to meet the needs of nursing students and faculty. And we have two things at the end, and actually you can grab these at any time via the handout area of the dashboard, but we'll distribute an infographic that summarizes this presentation and some other trends with nursing content and libraries. And we also have a special offer for you for some R2 Digital Library resources. So to give you a sense of what we did at the NSNA conference, it was held in April 2018 in Nashville, Tennessee. And just to note, we also attended this conference in 2016, and I will reference that a couple times during this presentation. We also did a survey then. But in Nashville, there were about 3,000 nursing students, faculty, and nurses there. We had additional exposure to about 60,000 members of the NSNA and nursing students in over 2,000 nursing programs. So the NSNA is the largest student organization for nurses and for nursing students, and it's certainly a well-attended meeting for sure. What we did there was, as I mentioned, we did a survey, and we had more than 160 responses, and we also did a focus group with nursing faculty. It was a small session where we really took some deep dives into what their preferences are in terms of education, what they see as far as digital content, print content, and what their students are needing. It was a great group. We had 6 faculty members from across the country and went about an hour and a half, so it was a really nice session for us and hopefully for them too. I do have a picture of our poster there as part of the survey. We did also offer students a chance to win a prize pack of books. As far as the survey goes, it was nine questions with different paths for student and faculty, so depending on whether they were a student or a faculty member, they did have different questions. We used SurveyMonkey to host the survey, and we had 163 responses. As I said, we collected these on site via an iPad, and then we also had an online distribution of the survey prior to the conference via the NSNA. We did collect the responses in our booth, and as I mentioned, participants were entered in a drawing for a pass the NCLEX books that were provided by our publishing partners. So let's get into it. As I said, we asked about 9 questions to each, either faculty or students. I'm not going to go through them all today, but we'll take a look at some that I thought were interesting and then see what the responses were. So what is the most important use of digital content? And this was primarily a student question, and over 60% responded that textbook was the most important use of digital content, digital textbooks, and then also about 30% said reference. So what we take from that is that nursing students and faculty, they all agree that digital content is a viable option for textbooks. I mean, in 2018, I don't know why they wouldn't. They're seeing it out there. Pretty much every textbook they're using has a digital option. But also reference use is also valuable. And that's something we'll talk more about, particularly in terms of the library. But, in our faculty, in the focus group, we talked a lot with the faculty members about kind of what used to be recommended resources that students buy rather than required. And I think that's where digital is really interesting from a library perspective, because as students are not purchasing those sorts of materials as much as they used to, library can really step in with those reference type materials. And what we heard from nursing faculty, and this will be echoed throughout the presentation today, is that content is more important than simply having access to something. And kind of moving there, and we'll talk about the R2 Digital Library throughout, so I just want to take a moment to introduce the R2 platform for those of you that aren't familiar with it. It's a web-based ebook platform from Rittenhouse book distributors. It's health sciences resources from the leading publishers, so it's really specialized for the health sciences. It only presents and hosts health sciences content, medicine, nursing, allied health, etc. It is dynamic, indexed, and the content is enhanced, I would say, based on the design of the platform. And there are 1,000 of ebooks and custom collections available for acquisition. We'll get more into how R2 can work, but going back to how students and faculty are approaching digital content and what R2 can be a part of that, I just want to at least introduce the platform now. Okay, so preferred formats, and the question here is, if given the choice, do you prefer to access nursing textbooks digitally, as in an ebook, or via a print book? And before we take a look at what the responses were, I thought we could all take a second to see what we thought. So let me launch a poll here. Okay, so I just opened the poll. We can take a few seconds to gather responses. All right, looks like the responses have come in, so I'm going to close the poll here. It looks like, and I hope this is displaying for you, 61% said print and 39% said ebook. And that is in line with what the students said. Almost 70 or more than 70% of respondents said they preferred print, and about 25% said ebook. So this is what we expected, and clearly what you all would expect too, based on your responses. But it's always an interesting question to ask. And after the survey, we showed the way our booth was set up. They would take the survey first, and then kind of come over and see R2 and how it worked and some of those things. And when they saw the R2 platform, they immediately saw the value of an ebook. We hear things like, "This is exactly what I need. I wish my school has this. My school does have this. I use it all the time." And it's interesting because most of these people had just said they prefer a print book, but when they see a platform like R2, they see something that that could be valuable to them. And I think that this kind of goes back to this whole thing of what is an ebook. Even in 2018, ebooks are perceived as static, flat files, and most are, really. A lot of this is consumer driven. When we think of, an ebook of a Stephen King book, we're thinking of something, on a dedicated e-reader or perhaps our phone, but it really is a flat file, and it doesn't need to do much more than be that. But in certain areas, and this is really the key thing, is that there are certain types of content that digital might be better than. I mean, I'm the type of person that if I'm going to read a Stephen King book, I'm going to carry around the 100-page hardcover in my bag. But if I want to learn more about a complex medical condition, I'm going to a screen. But I do think that ebook perception will evolve as functionality does. So as you see, especially for professional content and academic content, platforms kind of evolve, and what the idea of an ebook is will also change. So print was a more common response. We asked the same question in 2016. It was a more common response in 2018 than it was in 2016. And I kind of wonder if that's just indicative of inadequate ebook solutions. This, idea that, a static file is appropriate for a nursing student, which in most cases it may not be. And what we heard from nursing faculty, we heard it's not what you offer students, all access, open access, included access, etc. It's the quality. And I think that the word quality there speaks not only to the content, but to the way that content is presented. There's, 3 different kind of buzz terms up there that are, we hear a lot in this industry right now. But really it all comes back to what the content is and how it's presented. And I really like this. When students were presented with that question, which they preferred print or digital, we heard very frequently, why isn't there an option for both print and digital? And, first we heard this a couple times, but then it really became a trend. I'd say over half the students who took the survey had this question. And it was really eye-opening because, there's so many things that come out about, what's better for students, print or digital, or not only students, but what's the better format, and literally to the point where one day you'll read an article that says something like, nobody can remember anything they read on the screen for more than 5 minutes, and the next day you'll read something saying that e-content increases test scores by 300% or something like that. It's all over the place, in terms of what's better, print or digital. And I think that the answer is we don't have to draw a line in the sand here. It can be both. And as I said, both have their different uses. Certainly there are cases where my preference is a print book, and then other cases where I see a tremendous value in digital. So kind of moving along here, and this is from faculty. This was a question that only faculty received. What is the most important criteria you consider when selecting course materials or textbooks? And clearly content is the key thing here. And going back to R2, in terms of what R2 can offer from a content perspective, there are more than 5,000 health sciences ebooks on the platform from about 90 publishers and professional associations. Really all the publishers that you would expect to find on a health sciences ebook platform you're going to find here. And then you're also going to find a really extensive selection of association content from people like the American Nurses Association, the Oncology and Nursing Society, Sigma Theta Tau International, and a lot of other specialized nursing associations such as A1 and many others. There is a database design, so again, this improves that user experience, which I think goes hand in hand with the quality of the content. There's also a very simple integration into instruction, so it's easy to get these materials into nursing instruction. Of those 5,000 ebooks, there's almost 1,000 nursing-specific ebooks on the platform. Again, a lot of the leading publishers and many associations. We do focus on the American Journal of Nursing Books of the Year, so you'll find a pretty robust selection of those available on the platform. Duties core titles are also important to us, and there's an extensive selection of standards and guidelines. Most of these are published by the associations. You'll see a lot of these from the ANA and other associations as well, and there's probably about 50 or 60 on R2 right now. So you'll find more here than anywhere else. And again, it's all different publishers in one interface, so you don't have to worry about managing 10 different platforms to provide that content to your users. The next question I have is, or we asked, is what is your preferred device on which to access digital nursing textbooks? And I'm going to launch another poll here to see what we think they chose. Okay, so I just launched the poll. Okay, I'm going to move on. It looks like there might be a technical difficulty with the poll because I'm not getting responses. But I have closed it, and we'll just move along with the presentation. So this was interesting to me. What is your preferred device, again, on which to access digital nursing content? And laptop was far and away the winner here. And this was surprising to me because, you hear time and time again that students want mobile, they want apps, this sort of thing. But I think it looks like about 2 or 3% of students said that mobile is their preferred method to access digital content, which I thought was very interesting. As far as R2 goes, it doesn't really matter what device they're using because it is a web-based ebook platform, so it's accessible from any internet-enabled device. It does work really well on laptops and tablets, which are two of the most popular responses. There are extensive tools to share and save information, and the access is on the go. So wherever that students are working all over the place, whether in a distance learning environment, at a coffee shop, at a library, wherever they're working. As long as they can get an internet connection, they can access the R2 Digital Library. The next questions were specifically related to students in libraries. How often do you use textbook provided by your libraries? Over the past 12 months, how frequently have you requested assistance from your librarian? And do you feel your library has the resources you need to be successful in your classes? How often do you use textbooks provided by your library? About half said they don't use them, and then the other half use them, multiple times per week. So it's a wide range there. Over the past 12 months, how frequently have you requested assistance from your librarian? About 40% of students have not, but 60% of students have. So we really see that, students are relying on librarians and their libraries to help them with their education. And do you feel that your library has resources you need to be successful in your classes? And the majority of students believe that, yes, their libraries do have the materials they need for their success. So kind of unpacking this a little bit, many students don't necessarily see their library as a textbook provider. They may see their institution as a textbook provider, but most don't see that as a library role at this point. And you know, there's about 50 librarians with us on the line today, so I'm sure you are all kind of at a different place with where your library is in terms of textbooks and providing that access to students. We meet with all of you frequently, and we can certainly observe that there's a lot of different perspectives here. But the most important thing I'd say is that students are very reliant on their library and librarians. And this has actually increased since our survey in 2016. Most students believe their library supports their education, as we saw in the poll, but not all. I'll talk more about this in a couple minutes because I think there's more to that based on just the marketplace in general. So taking a look at faculty in libraries, how often do you incorporate resources and textbooks provided by your library into your coursework and teaching? And again, this was a question that went to faculty specifically. And it looks like 40% said not very often, but you know, again, almost 60% do incorporate that material frequently. So instructors clearly rely on libraries. And this is the point. This multiple platforms, business models, and content solutions are confusing. Who is providing what? I think this could also go back to those students who answered that they don't necessarily think that the library is providing everything they need. I think in a lot of cases, they don't know where things are coming from. There's so many different platforms out there, so many different content solutions that, you know, if a faculty member were to use something like R2 and embed, you know, links from that sort of platform into a curriculum or that sort of thing, a student's not necessarily even aware that the library is the one that's providing that content. Libraries are one part of institutions which are increasingly tasked with providing more. As we talked about, all access, all inclusive, those sorts of things, and libraries are part of that discussion for sure. And we're all very aware that institutions are very much interested in those sorts of models as well. So I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about a few things specifically from our focus group. And these were changes in nursing instruction, the flipped classroom, and students and book buying or lack thereof. And then we'll also talk about how R2 can help. So these quotes are all from nursing faculty members from our focus group. Here's one: the digital and online piece changes the way I teach. You have to flip the classroom for online. The responsibility is on the student to learn the material. I just guide them. This one was interesting. One drawback to distance learning is it's hard to identify the students who are struggling. And then with a flipped classroom, our grades have improved, our test scores have increased, and I think the students get used to learning and reading the material. So the takeaway here is that libraries need products that support the flipped classroom. And again, looking back at the R2 platform, it's really perfect for this sort of use because it is a web-based collection. It's in the cloud. Students can have 24/7 access for those distance learning situations. Once again, we can access from any device. And as far as authentication goes, we have, you know, whatever you're using, whatever way you're authenticating your users, we can work with you. It looks like we may be having some audio issues, so I'm going to keep on going. It looks like we're back on track. Okay. And again, for the flipped classroom, it really does come back to content as well. We have over 900 nursing ebooks on the platform, more than 500 allied health ebooks, and over 100 undergraduate level ebooks. So the content that's going to support those flipped classrooms is available here. And the integration into a curriculum is very easy with persistent URLs. That's the easiest way. We're also compatible with an LMS, any A to Z list, those sorts of things. And we also work with commercial discovery services. And then as you know, nursing instructors are changing the way that they teach students, we do have a special collection on the R2 platform about ways in which nursing education is changing, how to implement changes, some of the new trends, and hot ideas. And that's in a special collection called Nursing Instruction Essentials, and that's available on the platform. So looking at students and book buying, this is a big thing that you can read endless information on. But again, this is all from faculty. I don't think it has anything to do with whether it's hard copy or ebook. Students just aren't buying books, period. Our students prefer the digital, but they also prefer to rent it, not buy it, because it's cheaper. I feel like the majority of the students prefer the ebook, but they don't buy it. So we hear a lot of this, and the takeaway here is that if students aren't buying books to get the best educational outcomes, libraries can help by providing more resources. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you should provide every resource that a student isn't buying. That's a library preference, and also how the library has positioned itself within an institution. But I do think that anybody that's involved in education, whether it's an instructor, a library, an administrator, they all want their students to get the best outcome. So how does the library fit into that piece, and how can R2 help? And I'd say, it's all more for less. How can you provide more in an environment where your budget is hopefully stable, but maybe shrinking, or again, there's so many different options out there for you as far as content goes. What can R2 do for you to help with that? And I think we have two great things for you. We have patron-driven acquisition. This is a program where you can add any title, which will provide 3 points of access to students at no cost. Then once a book is triggered, it goes into a shopping cart. Even at that point, you still have the option to purchase or not purchase the book. So there's no automatic purchase with our patron-driven model. And we also have a PDA wizard, which is essentially a replenishment tool that'll help you keep your collection current and in scope. And then the best way to provide more for less is to not have to pay for something in the first place. The R2 platform offers about 30 or 40 free resources with unlimited usage, and some pretty good ones for libraries collecting in health sciences, including the Merck Manual, which was just released this past spring, and Environmental Health and Nursing, which was an AJN Book of the Year, and focuses on environmental issues and nursing. So some really valuable resources there that are available to you at no cost. So that's it for the presentation today. If you have yet to do so, you can send along any questions. And also, if you've yet to do so, take a look at the handout section of the dashboard, and you'll see that there's an infographic there that summarizes a lot of the information, probably contains more information than even I presented today, that we gathered at the NSNA conference, and how libraries can help and those sorts of things. And you also see that we have a nursing instruction flash sale. So that special collection I had mentioned, the Nursing Instruction Essentials, we're offering all of those books at an increased discount of 22% through September 26th. So feel free to grab those. If for some reason you're not be able to get them now, I'll be happy to send them along. You'll have my email address from the end of the session. Okay, so right, so once again, there in that GoToWebinar handout area, you can grab those. As I said, if you have yet to do so, please submit any questions that you may have via the GoToWebinar dashboard. I'm going to take a look here and see what might have come in. Looks like we have some. So yeah, one, sorry about that poll. I would have been curious because that definitely surprised me. So this is a comment, and I 100% agree with this. I found that sometimes students don't realize that the resources they are accessing are actually provided by the library, and I think this is absolutely something that happens. As I mentioned, I think that there's so many different platforms and content solutions out there that, a student isn't always aware what's coming from what. And, if they're not going to the library or logging onto the library site, they certainly may not be aware that what a nursing instructor is sending them is something that's actually provided by the library. Here's one about PDA. What is the minimum dollar amount for PDA? There's no minimum in terms of upfront commitment or even what you purchase. It's really meant to help you see what your users are wanting. and then help you, decide which resources to add to your collection. A lot of times, a great use for PDA is if your institution's adding a new program or something like that, and it's something you haven't collected in before, it can really help you kind of see what resources that are available to you would be of interest to your students. So there's no minimum in terms of upfront cost or a commitment to purchase a dollar amount. Okay, a couple more here. Where can I get the free resources on R2? They are in the admin area. The same place where you find that Nursing Instruction Essentials special collection, we have a free resources special collection, and you can see all of the free ebooks there. And you can always shoot us an email at customerservice@r2library.com if you're not able to find them or if you're not using R2 currently. Where can we get the results of the survey? Most of these, a lot of the results are going to be in the infographic, so you'll be able to see a lot of the results there. If you would like more detailed results, please feel free to shoot me an email. It's jason.hafer@rittenhouse.com, and I will display that here, because that's all of the time we have today. Actually, one more question came in. Let me just see. How many people participated in the surveys? Thank you. There were about 165 responses that we got for the surveys, primarily nursing students. So once again, thank you all for being with us today. If you're interested in the R2 platform, we do offer free 30-day trials, and you can talk to your Rittenhouse sales rep to get that started, or you can shoot me or customer service an email to get it going. But we do really appreciate you all spending time with us this afternoon, and hopefully this was informative and helps give you a sense of what nursing students and faculty how they're approaching content, and also some ways that Rittenhouse and the R2 platform can help. So thank you all very much and have a good day.